Hey, my name's Mamie Blanton. It's pronounced just like it's spelled. I'm the Senior Director of Sales Operations at Rackspace. One of the things that we do a lot is work really, really tightly with our enablement team around a couple of things. My background, I actually started my career out as a seller. I've worked most of my jobs over the last 20 some years, really close to the customer or really close to sales. So I kind of understand their triumphs as well as their trials that they go through. And, I've really enjoyed the customer centric and, tying how ops and enablement really help drive sales, the forecasting piece of it. So at Rackspace, when a brand is really around this concept of being fanatical. Since it's not in the dictionary, I thought I'd just take a couple minutes and tell you what that means to us. Fanatical experience for us is really around how we combine the power of the proactive and always-on service, expertise, best-in-class tools and automation, and how we deliver it to our customers. It's a play on, or an evolution around our fanatical support, which is what the company was founded on, which is really around a customer-obsessed service that's been at the core of everything we do since 1999. So I'm here to talk about one of the biggest pain points we face, which is how do we prove the value of sales enablement? How do we get to that holy grail of generating actionable insights that results in sales productivity growth and give sales management the confidence to continue to invest and reap rewards of enablement? There's lots of talks about insights, actions. Often what's missing is how do you get those insights to the right people at the right time, which enables us to drive consistency, bookings growth, revenue growth, the forecast, etc. I found that it's not only difficult to create those insights, but getting them to the right person at the right time is also a challenge. But when you can do that, there's a ton of value that's delivered with speed and velocity. And I'm pretty sure you guys hear things like go faster every single day or every single meeting. So one of the kind of examples I kind of relate this back to my personal life is just my daily commute. I use like a navigation app almost everywhere I go. I live in North Austin, so you never know what the traffic is going to be. The reason why I use it is because I find these navigation apps give me three things that I can't get by myself, right? Number one, they give me visibility. So they show me what's ahead from what I can't see in my driver's seat. Two, it gives me insight. It helps me understand what's ahead of me in a way that I can't. Things like how long it's going to take me to get there, what time am I going to arrive. And three, it gives me actions, timely actions that are going to improve my experience. Things like different routes to take to get to my destination. I want to talk about how we apply that concept to sales enablement, the visibility, the actions, and the insights. This is a journey. It's not a destination. The question is how do we navigate that path? I don't pretend to have all the answers. We started this journey about this time last year, and I wanted to share with you some of the things that we've learned so far. When you look across enablement, sometimes you have there's lots to work with, right? There's tools, there's trainings, there's sales methodologies, there's reports, there's data. You've got reps, you've got managers. Everybody has the same goal, but yet often it's very disconnected. At Rackspace, we have the same pain. We've got a really strong do-it-yourself culture and really talented sellers, and there's a high desire to win and a strong work ethic. But with that do-it-yourself culture also can come a lack of alignment in how we do things. How we do things to improve our forecast, grow our revenue, those types of things. We struggle sometimes with high number of push deals, an inconsistent, unpredictable forecast, and we know how important that is to our sales leaders, our chief revenue officer, our finance partners, et cetera, et cetera. The reality of it was our data, our tools, our program, our approaches across the different teams were really siloed, and everybody had a different point of view. The adoption for our processes, our enablement, was inconsistent, like it is in many organizations. Trainings are done at set times. Often, important elements are forgotten before they're put into action. Content's created. Sometimes it's used in pockets, if it's used at all. I see some of you guys kind of nodding. I think you know what I'm talking about. The result is just lack of visibility of what's really going on. That creates a waterfall effect. The visibility challenges your time to manage. The inability to manage effectively limits the ability to drive those actions, the insights. The lack of insights gives you the inability to course correct. We all know you can manage what you can measure, but how do you start to measure the things you can't see? So back to that question, how do you get the visibility and the measurement to improve actions and outcomes from an enablement perspective? So I think automation is a big enabler and part of our journey. This isn't an automate everything situation. I think that's impossible. In fact, I think we've heard a lot of cries out in the media around automation that will replace sales reps and a whole bunch of other things. I personally don't believe that, but I think there's a world that with the right kind of automation, the right type of tools, processes, methodologies, you can empower our reps to do really good things. But to get them on board, you really have to deliver value. It's that what's in it for me. That value for us has really been in either time, information, or sometimes it's just simply as getting their manager off their back. The reality is our B2B sales are complicated and they're ever changing. And it's rapidly evolving with more and more sophisticated customers. If all the tools and programs and enablement work perfectly, we'd have that predictive execution that we all strive for, but we know we don't. What's missing is that in the moment awareness, knowing what's happened, what steps are missed, how do we identify those? How do we enable our managers to coach at the right time, at the right moment, at the right deal? There's a visibility gap that we rely too much on our reps to be data entry clerks. But when we start taking some of that off their plate with automation, not only do we give them time back, but we help them keep tabs on all the little details that's critical to improve communication and working through others and ultimately close more deals. I think the answer lies a lot with automation. We started down this path of automating a lot of activities in our Salesforce with an activity automation tool. Once we started, instantly we got a 10x visibility into what our reps are doing. So what that means is we could see things like which customers were they really engaging with, where they were spending their time, were they following our sales process, were the customers responding, or are we just sending out loads and loads of emails? Once we gained this into our customers and our pipeline, we started asking ourselves, how can we harvest some of this stuff much better and much faster? We found there's kind of those three things, right? To us, visibility is really how do you see what you can't see, or just the state of being seen. Back to my traveling example, it's things like, how can we see the traffic, the accidents, the slow spots, the hazards that are ahead of us in the road? It helps us in the route we already took and how we get to our destination. The insights are things like, those are developed through our analytics, and they help give us a better deep understanding of what's visible. So things like, what are the traffic patterns, unexpected delays, anything that's coming towards us that we're just not there yet. And the action is, with those better visibility and deeper insights, the next action is so what are we going to do about it, right? And that's where the action happens. It's back to our traveling examples. It might be things like, am I still on the fastest route? How am I going to get there? We all struggle with similar challenges, whether it's in our travels or in our sales organizations. Visibility, actions, insights, all three need to work together. The holy grail is in the middle. Visibility without insights means you can see what's happening, but you don't understand why, so you can't do much about it. Insights without visibility means you look at a very limited scope and likely to make uneducated decisions. And actions without visibility and insights lack the predictability needed to enable change. I think we all understand the traveling example, that most of us do it on a regular basis. Most of us can navigate traffic daily and have grown very accustomed to our navigation apps. But how do we apply this to our enablement roles? What do you want to see? What do you want to spend? What do you want to do about it? The first step for us was really driving into visibility. The problem that we were trying to solve for was a more predictable forecast and how do we hit our number. Both our sellers and our managers were really tired of the one-on-ones, which often turned into inquisitions. I'm sure you guys have been part of those at some point. It sounds something like, when's this deal going to close? Have you done this? Who are you talking to in the customer? That's now all the information we can deliver to them real time. We believe that when we have more visibility to what they're doing and what they're not doing, it's our key to forecast and revenue growth. We've got a large sales force. It's spread out globally, and it's really difficult from a global team to know where everybody's spending their time. Once we started through activity automation in Salesforce, we got that 10x visibility, which means things like from before, every time they did a contact, an email, a phone call, we now get visibility to 10x of that we never knew anything about. The automation allows us to see things that we hadn't seen before. It helps us understand which deals are real, which customers are actively engaging. Are the reps actually using the content that we created for them? Are they unintentionally ignoring deals that they should be working? We had improved visibility to these sales activities and customer engagement. Many of you would use the words like inbound, outbound, probably a really good way to look at it. We had 10x visibility to our outbound activities like meetings, emails, events, and we had unprecedented visibility to where our customers were engaging back with us. The next step was insights. So how do we take the visibility that we just gained through automation and deliver those as insights? These were developed both through a deeper understanding of what's visible. We use both AI through some of the tooling that we've got, as well as traditional analytics to develop a deeper understanding. Meetings, emails, etc., both inbound, outbound. Is your rep sending a lot of emails without getting responses? Does it take 10 days for a response? What's the likelihood things will close? Those are the kinds of things a manager wants to know. How many contacts? How many phone calls? What if your sales managers knew that your reps were spending more than 20% of their time on deals that had less than an 8% chance of closing? Pretty sure they'd coach a little different. This can't only mean improving sales rep activity, but it's also improving results. It's really human nature to respond to squeaky wheels and work whatever's top of mind. It's not always the most important, but often it's the most urgent. Finally, we got to actions. Many of us talk about actionable insights. And it's one thing to understand what to do, and another thing to act upon it at the right time. When I think about insights and actions, I think there's an expiration date for actions. Back to that traveling example, it doesn't really help me to know the roads were closed yesterday if I'm driving on them today. You want to understand it in real time. You want to know what actions you can take now. And sales is no different. Once you have a deep understanding of what's actually happening, you can enable your sellers and your leaders. And how can you distribute these efficiently and effectively? And no, I'm not talking about yet another meeting. For sellers, you can enable them to work what's most important around the squeaky wheel. How can you help them pull the right deals into their forecast or reduce another push deal? How can you help them improve their forecast with confidence or share best practices across a group of distributed sellers quickly? We've enabled our sellers with this personal assistant for guided selling to help them work through the most important and change course of their deals with their customers in real time. The activity automation and the guided selling tools work directly with the seller. What is guided selling? To us, it's a system that gives reps a better way of selling to customers by recommending paths, actions, next steps based off of their activities and other deals that are closing similar to theirs. It's delivered through AI and analytics directly into our Salesforce. With these best practices, the sellers, the managers, us in ops and enablement get a better idea of how you can move deals through the buying process faster. We deliver actions to our sellers for things like deals that exhibit specific patterns that show up as outliers. when they're not spending enough time or ultimately spending too much time on a deal, when they should get a subject matter expert involved, or if they started skipping really important steps in the sales process. And in some cases, we're also starting to send some actions to our managers and alerting when they need to step in, helping identify where they need to coach versus managing every single deal, and where they can focus more on the exceptions versus the deals that are already going smoothly. We started this last year. We've got a number of reps who've naturally adapted both the automation as well as our guided selling, and we've started to see some dramatic results. Within the first 6 months, the reps who are adopting it had a 50% cleaner pipeline. They've reduced their time to win by 40%, and they've started to win bigger deals, resulting in a 10% improvement in productivity. As I mentioned, we're on a journey. We're working on ways to deliver leader actions better. We know that's an area that we can definitely improve. We know that effective sales coaching can enable productivity, and that's our goal. We're off to a good start and really excited to our future. But back to managing what you can measure. I know there's buzz in the marketplace around next steps, next best steps, guided selling. Essentially, that's where I see us as sales enablement professionals can have a huge impact on our forecast, on our month, on our quarter, on our year in a measurable way. Now we got better visibility to insights that we can help adapt, and we can help change some of those outcomes. We're able to put automated risk detection systems in place so managers are alerted real time and help reps shift direction when needed. Things like actions that can help guide our sellers to focus on the right deals versus focus on deals that are highly unlikely to close. We can flag activities where a customer is just not engaged. We can help enable managers to coach to specific situations with best practices and insights at their fingertips. And the beauty is the data from each of these actions are delivered straight into our systems, directly to the rep, directly to the manager, and they can help improve those outcomes, help even more improve outcomes for the future. And that's kind of what I mean when I talk about enablement or automation. We're getting really good feedback from our sellers about this type of stuff. We've been able to demonstrate we're saving at least 2 hours a week in non-selling activities that they're able to use for selling time. And especially on their least favorite tasks of like logging more stuff in Salesforce. We also deliver relevant actions quickly to help them hit their targets. They're able to accept or decline our actions so we know which ones they're taking, which ones we're really enabling for, and we get the feedback that help us understand which ones are working, which ones aren't, so we can rapidly adapt. So back to my initial question around how do you measure the effectiveness around enablement? I think it's really around empowering sales. When you understand what activities their reps are actually taking and how they correlate to the outcomes, you can redirect your sales activities accordingly. And as a result, I think you can see deal capacity increases, reduction in average close times, improvement in your pipeline quality, improvement in your win rates and bookings. So back to where we started, how do you measure the effectiveness of your sales enablement? If you don't leave today with a call to action, I would just say your first thing is visibility. How do you drive more visibility to the impact your enablement is having on your teams and measure it? It's difficult. Many companies in the past struggled with it for really long periods of time. Through some of the tools that are out in the marketplace for activity automation, guided selling, next best steps, and AI, it's really helped us deliver results in the moment. So again, I don't pretend to have all the answers. We're still really early on the journey. A lot of these tools and different approaches to enablement are rapidly evolving. But the journey we're on is really around how do we get measurable in our value and deliver the right insights to the right people at the right time. We're definitely not at our destination. Much of the technology is rapidly evolving, and it's not tried and true yet as far as a roadmap to success. We can figure it out. We're continuing to go down that travel. We endure some speed bumps as well as enjoy the fast lane at times. But I think the most important part of the journey is that first step around driving better visibility and the actions. And I encourage you all to take that first step. Thank you.
Everybody? Mimi, thank you so much. I thought that was, oh, do we have one? Oh.
So there's a number of tools out there in the marketplace right now that do things like activity automation, right? So it'll pick up what they're doing in their email, their phone calls, their meetings, and place it straight into Salesforce. What we were looking for is not just what are they doing, but how can you get them all to do, like follow our sales process, which we think works, but we don't know because it's really hard to test, right? We actually bought one called Alano, that does the activity automation, the AI, and the guided selling that we're leveraging. We've applied it for sales reps. We've got high levels of adoption, especially around the activity automation, because it gets their manager off their back around where's that QBR and where's the last time you met with that customer and what's the next step and all that type of stuff. So we're saving them time, and we know that. Getting them to use the guided steps and to accept and reject, or whatever it is, the actions that are provided through our selling process is where I think the magic is, right? It's how we get things. We're more excited about 40% increase in our sales velocity than anything else. So even if you say, selling the same stuff faster, and that velocity and that speed is huge. Bigger than a cleaner pipeline, bigger than a, increase in bookings and all that type of stuff. All right, I think I'm getting on stage. I'll be around if you guys have any other questions. So thank you.
Thank you.